working.
What isn't working?
The feed from the GoPro.
So we need silent feed, so we need extra.
Okay. So far works.
You ready? Ya.
Ouais. Si c'est bon. Je viens de check. Et je l'ai mis sur Facebook aussi. Ça y est, on est là. Yeah.
Super.
Voilà.
Start? Do you want us to start sending the message that in half an hour we're gonna be live? Brian, what time do you want to start?
2 o'clock to live transmission.
2 o'clock. And open.
Start time will probably open 2:15.
Okay. Done it. I'm sending just an image to the cloud and so on. Can you generate my student screen? Yes. Yes. Fold the paper. Wait. Yep, that's it. That's the one. Got it. Hold on, stay there.
De 6 no nos sirve. 6, tía. No sé cosa no.
It's number one, and this on the floor. This is the test yesterday. And it's is that one? That one with the confusion with the yellow. Yep. Mr. Angel.
Well, how?
Okay, I need to do my layout. My layout is PC drive off here.
We need an extra time.
Angel.
Oh, I need a 3D shit.
Why you are subito with Alpha Tango?
Desconnecta't de internet, sisplau. No necessites no internet, tu? Ara mateix? Raro. Treu-li el...
La internet.
Sí, perquè ara començaré a xocar per YouTube.
Necessitaré
concentrate on this.
Oh, 4,500 kph.
Ow!
4,800.
No noise.
All mobiles in silence, please. It's mine. It's Jorge. He's telling me things. Or Jaume. Hey, I've got live image from...
Yep.
Do you want it live? J'espère que le mec il enregistre. Je lui dis, ouais, je vais faire.
Tu as déjà du streaming? així.
Vale, tu el pots fer que estigui... Pots generar fotos.
Si puc generar-lo?
Si pots girar-lo així. Molt bé, molt bé.
De fet, puc ampliar el camp de visió i tindrem una sessió de millor qualitat. Mira, la imatge que tenim.
De puta mare. Perdona, t'he enviat per WhatsApp.
Sí, l'he vist. El
4
ping-ping
fotos.
ha sigut tu.
Perdona.
No, no passa res.
Són les fotos d'aquí, de com, per si volen parlar molt ràpid de com està el temps de fora.
Vale. Hòstia, m'encantaria enviar aquesta imatge.
Que sí? La pots gravar mentrestant?
El noi ho està gravant, m'ha dit. M'ha dit que ho fes, sobretot.
L'àudio està off.
A l'streaming sí. Però mira, deixaré l'àudio on ja per a dalt.
madam. Can we talk to you a few seconds? How are you today?
Okay, thank you.
And so you had a great day off yesterday?
Yes, we have day off. Yes, we have been in Andorra.
And what do you think about the task today?
Maybe it's gonna be rain in the point 3 and 4, 4 o'clock. But I hope we're gonna be before 4 o'clock there.
Okay, so the plan is to try to be as fast as possible out of that.
Yeah, you have to. I don't want to play any games. Just go to get third and fourth as soon as possible.
Okay, so good luck with that. Hi, Vladimir.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm fine. I'm ready to go. I've got training a lot. 3 days in a thermal, so.
So you're ready for the race today?
Yep, I'm ready for it.
What have you done yesterday?
I was in the mountains, over there in the mountains. I was climbing a little with my father, so I've got little tired in the knees, but it's really relaxing. It was really relaxing. No, what in thermal bains over there in the law. It was also cool, so I'm relaxed and ready to go.
So you are enjoying La Cerdanya?
Yep, a lot. It's worth to go for it, for this aerodrome, this valley. I recommended it for all.
And what do you think about the task today?
The task is quite simple, but the weather is quite tricky. I actually don't know how to fly it, so I just wait a little bit and see for the goggle and just try to go next the goggle. So this is my plan.
That seems to be a good plan. Enjoy. Have a great day.
Thank you.
I don't know. I think Louis came back. Louis, can we ask you a few questions? How are you today?
Very, very good.
So you had a very good race 2 days ago. Could you tell us a bit about it?
It's quite far. I have to make my memory. Yeah, we had a nice pass right of track with Lukas Wojcik near Andorra. And afterwards, he decided to climb, and I could see Sebastian Kawa and Max Sace just ahead of me. So I decided to continue my race, and I could catch them west of Andorra. And afterwards, Max and Sebastian take a better thermal, and I was a little bit low compared to them, and I had a nice ride in the convergence, and I could catch them again. And afterwards, I stayed with them, and I gained some meters at the last thermal, just above them, and I decided to start the rival, and it was very tight, and just above north of the airfield, I could find 5 meters and 2 turns, and I could beat them, and I also overtake Pete Temple. That's it.
So it was a very good race. What do you think about today?
Today is much more humid, but it looks very nice, and we will see. It will be a nice race, I think.
Okay, I will see you at the end. Have a good day.
Good morning, everybody, from La Cerdanya airfield here in Catalonian Pyrenees. It's a pleasure to be here again with you, ready to see race 4. Interesting day for sure. After we have a resting day, because yesterday there was rain all around in the middle of the day, so there were a couple, maybe an hour for flying, for club flying, but there was not a window to have a task. So today we'll have a race, very interesting race. And here we have Brian Sprigley. So Brian, how does the weather look like?
The air mass is quite moist today, and we have a southwesterly wind, so we don't have such a high cloud base that we had on previous days. We expect only 3,000, maybe 3,100 meters, which makes it difficult on top of the mountains because there isn't much operating room. So we fly on in the valley out to the west towards Sort Valley, where we can fly in the lower mountains. But first, maybe Jaume, we look at the results and the overall, and then we look at the task and we'll talk it out from there.
Yes, thank you, Brian. So 2 days ago, the third race, very interesting race. The third place was for Pete Temple from Australia, had 7 points. The second position was for Louis Bouderlic from France with 8 points. And the winner was Thilo Holyhouse, who is 2 wins in a row with his Ventus 3 at the speed of 129 kilometers per hour, and he had the 10 points of the day. And in the overall results, we must say that at the lead we have Thilo Holyhouse with 23 points, followed at 7 points by Didier House from France, and in third place Sebastian Kawa with 15 points.
And we can see then that also from France, Louis is behind Sebastian, only 2 points, and only 1 point behind Peter Temple. So it's very close to the top still, and today's result may make quite a big difference to this.
Yes, it could be very interesting, and in the middle of the race we'll talk about what will happen if the pilots finish in the situation they are at that moment. It will be really, really interesting. But I think you can see from the second position to the sixth position, it's just 4 or 5 points of difference. But from the first to the second, it's 7 points. So Thilo has a very interesting difference, and it could be really, really important for the total scoring of the whole competition, Brian.
Yeah, I think so. We'll have to see how it unfolds. So we can get on with today's race now then, Jaume.
Yes.
Can you talk us around the task, please?
Yes, okay. Today we have a task of 224 kilometers. You can see in the screen our friend Benjamin is putting and showing us. So first of all, we must say that the start altitude is 2,700 meters. They cannot pass the start line with higher altitude, otherwise they have a penalty, as happened just a couple of days before. And the first leg is from here in the middle of the valley to the western point, which is Cometa, is 67 kilometers far. And it's a very interesting difference from the last 3 days, because we don't start the first leg is not to the east, Brian, but to the west.
That's right. In this weather situation, there's a possibility that we have overdevelopment on the eastern end of Cerdanya Valley, and this might bring us overcast conditions and rain. So we focus on going to the west. We try to stay where there's a good operating altitude with a good cloud base. With the southwesterly wind, there are lots of mountains which face into the southwest, and it's good for ridge soaring. So at any time they can, if the thermals are not good, they can try using the ridges.
Yes, I think before going on with the rest of the points, I think it's very interesting. Our friend Gerard will put us some photos a couple of minutes before, just how it looks, the sky. And you can see, first of all, this is direction Cometa, first turn point. And remember, as Brian said, to the north, we will see that later, but to the south, seems to be not a lot of spread out. Cumulus seemed quite nice, but lower than the north. Now we see the second photo. This is always also to the east, but the North Mountains, which always have higher ceilings, and you can see that the clouds maybe are more one close together.
Yeah, and you can see from this photo the conditions that the race is going to take place in, that there's a lot of fragmented cumulus. This means that a lot of the thermals will be broken up. They will be pulsing, so short-lived thermals. So when you find one, it may only last for a few hundred feet or 1,000 feet before it breaks up, which makes it very exciting, because when one competitor arrives near another one, he may not get the same lift.
Yes.
And it may make it quite difficult because of the wind strength.
Yes, that's a situation which most of us have find to see a glider arrive maybe 30 meters, 50 meters under him and find nothing. So because the bubble is gone with him. And well, it could be interesting. And now we see the third photo, which is to the east. And you can see, well, nice clouds, but you can see many vapor, many steam, because many clouds doesn't dissipate, but the vapor keeps there. So sometimes it makes a shadow and cannot and makes the sun not hitting the ground again.
Yeah, it's a bit confused, the sky, and that probably means the pilots will be a bit confused. Yeah?
Yes.
And between them, they should sort it out.
Yes, that's it's another usual thing, that you go to one cloud, second cloud, third cloud, and nothing works. But you see them and say, oh, okay, it's perfect cloud, but why this doesn't work? Because the thermal is over. It's over you, okay? And back to the race.
So it's worth explaining to our viewers why we have 4 turning points close together. We are very careful to position the turning points so that the pilots, when they're flying into the turning point, are not on the same track as the pilots flying out of the turning point. So when we come into the turning point, we try to ensure that they must fly in a different direction so they do not come back towards the pilots flying in. And we have quite a limited task area when the weather's like this. So we have to put in more turning points. It makes it more complicated for the pilots, but actually it makes it more interesting for us to watch, because there are at least 3 or 4 places which are critical in this flight.
Yes.
If you don't get it right, then you'll have a really hard time.
Yes, as you said, this kind of task is because when they don't turn 180 degrees, so they don't face each other at around 400 kilometers of relative speed, one against the other. And the nice thing is, as you can see, most of the points are on the west part, and in between it's full of ridges, going some from east to west, another north to south. So it will be very, very interesting to see which route they take.
So we have 2 minutes to start. Everybody's coming together, and we can see we've got some good altitudes. And we must remember that today they're starting into the wind. So the ground speed maximum is 170, Jermaine?
Yes, I think so. And it's very interesting because the points Cerdanya and Manigat to the northern mountains are the highest ones, around 2,500 meters, although in the route they will pass, they will leave to the left some mountains which are around 2,900 meters. Meanwhile, to the south, the mountains are only between 1,900 meters, 2,000 meters. So it will be very, very interesting.
So from the start, where do they go first?
Yes, first they go to the east, to the west of Cometa, which is a leg of 67 kilometers. From there, they go southeast to Beaumort, which is 2,000 meters. And then they go back to the north, where there are 2 points, Maniga and Torredella. And then again, Las Picas, which is south, close to the famous mountain Lorry. We'll talk about it later. And from there, they direct to the east, okay, to the control point of Puigcerdà, and then to La Cerdanya. We must say that the star line has a length of 5 kilometers, And remember, the maximum altitude is 2,700 meters.
So we're coming up to the start now. We've got 28 seconds to go. Everybody's behind the line. We have some issues with the data from 3 Victor. Our highly competent technical team here, led by Angel Casado, is trying to work it out.
After the start, I believe that we can fix it.
So as soon as he gets a moment, I think he'll fix it. And running in now, 8 seconds to go. And it's up to you, Jaume.
Yes, I think Mike Young is going to cross the start line. You must remember, just 2 days ago, it was a little mistake, and he didn't pass the start line. And for sure, he will not make that mistake again. So you can see in blue line the British pilots, Mike Young, closely followed by John Gatfield, Yankee Oscar, and after him, we can see Pete Temple and Louis Buderlich. Very interesting to see if they follow the same track or they turn into 2 groups, one following north, other following south route.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We have a number of pilots who are well below the maximum start height. Gintas seems to be quite high. Gintas is not there yet, and he has to come down to start. But the really leisurely start. The guys at the back are really taking it easy and taking some space here.
Yes, yes. And take a look. That's the first decision, the first choice. To the north, highest ceiling, but probably a lot of shadow. Meanwhile, to the south, the thing is you have to cross Cerdanya Valley, where they will find almost no lift, no climbs. But if you arrive to the ridges of Cadi Mountains, the thing is the sky is more blue and less shadow, so there could be some better climbs. The thing is you will lose more height to arrive there and make a greater deviation.
But it looks like the obvious route is to come on to the Caravaca mountain with a southwesterly wind, take a little climb there, and then run along going almost straight to the west down to the Monturil and onto La Rabassa.
Okay, now we'll show you in a couple of seconds the routes we were talking about. Okay, you could go through the northern mountains and then jump and use these ridges through Saloria and Maniga. Okay, the other option, because remember that this zone is a zone with more spread out. Okay, but the other possibility is making this way. Although maybe Brian doesn't think so.
No, I don't think anybody will go this way.
Okay.
I think we have cumulus in a line. I mean, it's possible because there's good cumulus there, but it's a big risk. If you take the southern route and you get low, you
Yes.
have no possibility to rescue on a ridge.
Yes.
If you take this route more to the north, I think it gives you many more options. And maybe if we look it down a little bit more from overhead, Benj, and we can see the line of the ridges. Mike's certainly not waiting today. He's decided that he's going to have a go for it.
Yes, yes. Now we'll see a little bit from the top. Mike, John, and Graham, they go to the north, and they are climbing quite well. And it seems to be a gaggle in the middle of the valley. Just such maybe a strange and different day from a usual day here, as Brian said, because maybe in the middle of the valley there are thermals, as we said, strange day. And well, Mike keeps on going, 2,400 meters. He's passing La Carabassa Mountains and going directly to Andorra Valley. But the main group is about 15 pilots. Meanwhile, the other 3 are going their own way to the right. Okay.
And they're climbing quite high, and they're climbing under a cumulus in the middle of the valley. So there are some small cumulus which are working well, and it seems the majority of the competitors have chosen to take a thermal route in the middle of the valley, and Mike's really decided that he's going to take the ridge route and go straight onto the mountain and head directly to La Rabassa. He can do this. It's a good win for doing this. But if he doesn't find a good climb when he gets there, then he'll have a problem. They will catch him up.
Today seems to be a normal wind, normal breeze here. The only thing seems to be a little bit colder than the other days here in La Cerdanya. That's why with this and the moist zone we have, we expect it to have lower ceilings. We will see it. Just before the start, there were a couple of pilots, about 3,200, a little bit better than expected, and it's still early in the day, so maybe to the west part, in Maniga and Cometa Point, there will be some points higher. We will see. Now, we can see the main group is spreading all around the valley. Someone going through the middle, the other one seems to maybe be a little closer to the Caddy, I don't know.
Yeah, they're just following the cumulus in the middle of the valley. They will almost certainly go more to the right. Once they've gone past Carabassa, they will have to turn right and more towards Montoril.
Yes.
Because I think that everybody will have to climb on Larabassa. I think this is the place where everybody will go through.
Yes, they would have to, because the most interesting thing would be we climb there and jump to the northern and higher mountains, and to follow the ridge as we go. Just 2 days ago, last race, we go the French pilots flying together with Sebastian, and all around following the ridge and not losing very height.
Maybe we could mark with the marker where Larabassa is, so our followers can see where they're going to head for, and it's a direct route to the turning point.
Sorry.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Is the you can see Larabassa zone. The thing is, where they will climb is to the north, is in the middle of the valley, and that's where they would go. As Brian said, I think going to Caddy Mountains is a little bit more risky, because from there it's a big deviation, almost 40 degrees to second point Cometa, and going through the highest distance in the valley. Okay.
It's quite interesting to see that they've taken two completely different routes here. Mike and John have not done too badly going that way with Gilles, and Gilles decided it's a good route to take. But we have the other group, which is quite determined to stay in the valley, but I'm sure they will turn right soon.
Yes, maybe we could then take a look, Gerard, at how the spread out seems to be in satellite. Just a few moments to understand why the pilots maybe don't fly as usual here. Here you have the image. And the important thing is you see the clouds going thicker, okay? Although it's not spread out all around the Pyrenees. We think there are zones with clouds and zones with sun hitting the ground. So there will be thermals for sure. It's not all shadowed.
Yeah, and the lines of clouds show the ridge lines, and we're going to have to run down one of those ridge lines. So they're still separate, but now it's almost in two halves of the competition.
Yes.
It's good for us because it means it's quite interesting to see which one's got the right idea, which one is going to be correct.
Yes, today is an interesting day for every pilot to understand, choose which cumulus to go, which cloud to go. It's full of cumulus, some broken, the others not. Some clouds seem to have very definite, very straight basis, but it doesn't mean it work. It should work maybe 300, 400 under the cloud, but not below. So tricky day here, and maybe not good staying very below the clouds, because seems to be that bubbles go up, raising from the ground, not thermals from the ground to the cloud. So it's interesting not to get low today. So we can see we can see the group that take the northern route to the right of your screen, the group that take in the southern route. They are not in Caddy Mountains, as you said, Brian, but getting closer. It's very curious. Curious.
Yeah, we'll look at it from the top. We can have a small wager on this. I bet you'll be you can see now that they're on the foothills, on the low hills going to the west. They're doing okay. They've got good altitude. They're finding good conditions. Question is, will they continue out in the middle or will they turn to the right? We think we've got a fix for Thilo's data, but we'll have to recycle that in a moment. We'll just wait until we get the right time to do that.
Yes, and in meanwhile, in the middle, Gintas Zube and Aldo Rodriguez. Gintas is flying ESG 29. Gintas did quite well the first day. It was very, very nice to talk to him. And clearly followed by Aldo Rodriguez. We have only 4 people left in the 0 points club, Brian. I think for sure Aldo, Eugeni, Vladimir, and Graham Parker, they want to...
They want to get out.
Yes.
They want to climb out of that. So
Yes.
they're not very high. Gintas is
No.
pushing on. I think Gintas is a little disappointed
Yes.
with his performance and his result 2 days ago. And I think he's very determined. He was asleep under the trees when we were ready to start launching, meditating, no doubt, getting his psyched up, ready for the race. But he's taking a ridge route.
Yes.
It could be a good tactic. Only the time will tell. But he has to find the climb at La Rabassa because he has to climb there to fly to the next ridges.
Yes, I think Ginta's second day was a little bit sad because he was with Didier House in the leading group. Didier did quite well, fantastic alone. But the thing is, it was a convergence cloud, Didier told us, but Ginta's about 80 meters below. He couldn't catch it. So he had to go south to avoid the higher mountains. As, I think was a little bit of bad luck. Okay.
So-
And
And they're all going to come together. The northern group are all going to come together somewhere around the top of Monturil, and they ones with more altitude will be able to fly over the top. Certainly Sebastian and Louis and Max, they've got more altitude and have gone to the south, but I'm pretty sure they're going to have to come north at some stage.
okay, now it's interesting. Thank you, Benjamin. That we have data from 2 pilots, each one taking one different route. We can see John Gatfield taking the northern route, the right of your screen. Is being passed by the main group to his left, and Adam Zelaski in the left part of your screen. And I don't think there's a lot of difference of altitude. The thing is Adam Zelaski will have to fly more distance to Cometa. You can see the main group to the right of your screen is going almost straight ahead, only making the deviations.
And Vladimir's decided to climb for a good altitude. He's decided to wait behind and get a good altitude here to go direct. They're actually not doing as fast a first leg as we expected. We expected it to be a little bit quicker, but it's partly because the air mass is confused and
Yes.
it makes it more difficult to get a good straight run and good ridge running. It's a little bit too turbulent for that.
Yes, it's full now. In Spain, we say nubes de cartón piedra, which means clouds of paper, clouds that seem so nice, so pretty. Oh, there will be 5 meters per second, and you right there, it's nothing. So very interesting to select the clouds today. You know, to remember the lessons of how to find good clouds from that you studied many years ago. And the thing is, we can confirm there are 2 main groups. And surprising that half of the pilots took the southern route. We didn't expect no one to catch this.
No, we didn't. I think somebody was going to take the south route with the Cumulus, but I'm surprised that so many pilots have
Yes.
taken it, and I'm surprised on this group. There's Sebastian and Louis and Max and Adam in there. They're a pretty good group, and they obviously are still happy with that. They're still going on to the south, and they're still taking this route over the low ground. It could be they think there's maybe a little bit of wave influence, which is helping, but they're too low to be flying in any wave. They're still flying in the thermals underneath the cumulus. Adam looks like he's pushing out in front. That's good for Adam. And Thilo's with them. Maybe Thilo's decided his tactic for the day is to fly with Sebastian, but I don't think that's Thilo. Not
Yes.
his character. Wouldn't normally do that.
Yes.
He very much likes flying on his own.
Okay, now let's draw in the screen we're talking about. The pilots going through the north, you can see rely on the mountains, even though some mountains you don't see here. And the thing is, the southern pilots you are seeing, they have to cross the valley with a longer distance without mountains over wetlands. Okay. That's the thing. It can decide that the northern group should arrive with about 200, 300 meters before. Because the interesting thing is, as you can see, the southern group hasn't stopped to turn a thermal. And meanwhile, we can see how's the weather like, how the sky looks in the for the southern group. Okay.
So whilst they're recycling the data, we can look at this. This is the route taken by the southern group, and we can see good cumulus. What we can't see is more to the right. Maybe they have a picture more to the right in a moment, and more to the north. And we can see there's a nice line of cumulus there, but it doesn't go towards the turning point. It goes to the south, and when they come to the end of it, they have to find a way to the north or back onto the mountains. So we will find it very interesting to see how that works. That's it. And Hockey up on the mountain there, he's coming round to the northwest. Fantastic, Hockey, well done. And we're looking now at the sky almost over the second turning point at Beaumont. And we can see they have good cumulus for the entire flight. If we can come a little bit more to the north, please, Hockey, when you get a moment. Hockey's way up on Alp Mountain with a telescope camera.
Yes.
And it's a remarkable piece of equipment which can lock on to a glider and lock on to one of the competitors through a GPS data link, and he can follow the competitor. Of course, they're too far away to see, but he's also able to show us the weather. That's terrific, okay. Now we can see both routes almost. That's terrific. And we can see the route on the north and the route on the south and the hole in the middle.
Yes, and we can see that it's very curious because in the mountains of Cadiz we see, as you said, street clouds, but nobody stopped there. So, and they were about between 2,500, 2,700 meters, almost the same altitude. They passed the start line, so they didn't lose altitude. That's good for them. But to the north seemed to be a little more, you see, less blue, less sun, and we'll see what happens.
It's certainly a nice sky to fly in. It looks like there's no real issues there with overdevelopment or showers. The wind is breaking the thermals up a little, but they'll be finding good thermals still. It's just that the speeds won't be as high as you would expect. You look at the sky and you think, oh, that's 130, 140 kilometers an hour, but actually it's more likely to be 120, something like this, because we have 30 kilometers an hour to 40 kilometers an hour of wind at altitude. And that takes a lot of the, on that first leg, that will reduce the ground speed by quite a lot.
Yes, yes. I think if the height of the cumulus base is really high, as we saw a little bit surprised before the start of the race, I think the northern pilots will have good options. Okay, and we can see here a comparison. We will want to compare one pilot of the northern group, another pilot from the southern group, and just a few seconds ago seem to have same altitude, even though the southern pilots were a little bit closer to Cometa Point. Okay, you can see distance between Sebastian Kawa, southern pilot, and John Gatfield, northern pilot, about 8 kilometers of difference. Although I think John has a stop. They are stopping. Look at this. Northern pilots, as you said, Brian, they are stopping to climb in La Rabassa zone. Maybe we can zoom on them. Okay.
Well, if we look at that, we can see the Monteril mountain, La Rabassa. It's the really best place in the valley, because it has the big area of the Andorra Valley, and there's nothing to restrict the warm air, almost coming all the way from the Ebro Valley.
Yes.
And comes up the valley. And if it's going to be good anywhere, this is where it's good. And we can see they've climbed up to 2,800, and the guys to the south, they're 2,400. And I would think the distance is not much in it. So it's going to become quite a good race.
Yes, and we saw as they just made a couple of circles, and I think because it's they don't circle more because they arrived at the base of the cloud, so they cannot climb anymore. We must remember that in this competition, as many gliding competition, it's not allowed to fly into the clouds. It's just visual flying, and that's why they just made a couple of thermals, and from there they are jumping the Andorra Valley.
Yeah, and look at this. We have Maximilian and Louis down at 2,000 meters. They went on the same route as Sebastian, who's 2,300. And as we saw in the picture, they've come to the end of the cumulus. Now they must cross the valley. They're not going to be so high.
No. But please, that's what we talk about. They are crossing a place wet, usually with irrigation, and they must arrive to these mountains, which usually doesn't work so well. We have here again Sergi Pujol, the chief manager, who has been there many times. He will explain perfectly. But meantime, we could see just a few seconds before how the weather looked like in La Rabassa, where they were climbing. Seems to be, thank you, Gerard, very nice, well-defined cumulus. But the thing you can see, the cloud base is almost touching the peak of the ridge. So I think, Sergi, the base cloud is about 2,900, 3,000 meters, not more, because they didn't climb so much there.
In La Rabassa, I have flew just 1 hour ago. The top of the clouds looks 2,600 to 7, because we have wind and some places it's higher and some places it's lower. But it's a lot clouds and really good climbs. That means that it's not a really high altitude, but a lot of energy in the air, and all the pilots will find thermals. We can see now pilots from the north that is arriving in the same place, but in the north. The place where now it's Sebastian Kawa, Tilo, and Peter, sometimes not climb really well. He has to go here, in the north of his position. They will find really good climbs.
Okay, so we can see the southern group jumping Andorra Valley, arriving to the southern ridge. You can see the slopes are not so steep as the northern ones. You can see in the simulation many forests, many wet, much grass, and it seems it should not work as good.
It's not a good place for to be at 2,000 meters.
No.
No, because it's quite difficult later to find a good thermal. Maybe he found something. Today it's a day with a lot of instability, and that means that we can find thermals everywhere. But the thermal, it's a little northerly of his position, but they have 1,009, 2,000, Sebastian is climbing now. But the option of the north, maybe it's better, because as Brian tells us, it's a really good line of energy. We have west wind and looks a little better. They are higher, and we arrive his position in the same position, but in better conditions.
Okay, let's see what the northern group would have to do. You can see here is Andorra Valley. As you could see, Andorra Valley, and now they are following the ridges to the north to arrive to Cometa.
Andorra, it's Thomas Gornes and Mike Delta now. It's crossing the Andorra Valley. And yes, Andorra Valley. Well, 3 Victor and Bravo Sierra, Charlie, Juliet Sierra, 3. Now it's start to be in the best place for to find some thermals. And we will see Golf Oscar Lima and Zulu Foxtrot really south. Then will be a really difficult thing, or really good place not really good place for to find thermal.
Yes, and for me it's very interesting the strategy of Mike Delta. Take a look at Vladimir. I think he has done quite good climbing there, because you can see the northern pilots are higher than the southern pilots, but Vladimir is higher than everybody, and I think we'll pass to the north, and it will be very, very interesting. And the route, Sergi, I think they will follow is this one, or just this one, to jump to Cometa. You can follow this or this, and this is the Short Valley. Okay, and one mountain they can rely on that works very well is Lorry. We saw just 2 days ago how they were making reach there to arrive and jump to Andorra Valley.
Yeah, Sebastian Kawa and Charlie and Buderlik start to arrive to Port del Cantó, that the Noma is the place where we start to find a good thermals again. He has crossed all the valley of La Seu, and the normal we don't find nothing there. In the normal, when I saw some gliders really low there, we start to think that he will land in La Seu. But they arrive in quite good conditions, and we have the wind, we have the sun, and they have the wind and the sun, and we will find good thermal.
But of course, Sergio, the important thing is they need to be on the west side. They have to get over first, because on the east side it's probably not very good. And Sebastian's pull to climb looks like he's just on the southeastern side.
Yeah, this is true. He have mud. Sebastian is climbing now. This is the Port del Cantó. We have a point here. It's climbing quite well. But Thilo, Pete, and Christoph Limper, it's going to a really good place to find thermal. They have strong wind there and sun, and in the normal conditions he will find a really good thermal.
Yes, we can see they are arriving the Lorry Mountain. In the northern part there is a ski station, and also the fire breaks that usually work. And the thing is, just in the middle you can see the something green, which is the landable field of sort.
Yeah.
And they should rely on there. They always work, this mountain. And I don't know if I would have gone a little bit to the north where the fire breaks are, and Louis Buderlik knows it works very nice because he used 2 days, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, meanwhile, take a look. Vladimir keeps on being the higher one, okay? And in the meantime, you can see the image of our telescope to see how's the route to Pic del Orre, and after it's Cometa, the first third point. You can see it. And well, there are nice cumulus, but other grips that are rest of past cumulus, of past thermals that should not work very well. And okay, back again to see a general view of the race, Brian.
Yes, and despite all of our predictions and expectations, the northern group didn't go further north over the higher the mountains. They've come south to Lorry. So now everybody's together again. They're all same area, taking the same route, because from Lorry, it's a straight glide across the valley to Cometa, probably not to climb there, and come straight back to the Lorry to climb for the southern leg down to Beaumont.
Yes. To the persons who joined us just a few minutes in our broadcasting, how was the race going? Well, I must say that just after the starting line, the race divided into two main groups. To the south there were the French pilots, the Polish pilots, and to the north there were the German, Australian and British pilots, very curious. And we think they passed the Andorra Valley, La Seu d'Urgell airport by two different routes, but we think they are joining together. It should mean that to the north, the height of the clouds is not very high. It's not higher than the mountains. That's why it should be a reason. That's why they are going to the north.
Yeah, it must be. It must be that when they got to the top of the climb at La Rabassa, it looked too broken and too difficult ahead, and they decided to take them because it's off track by quite a way. So they're taking a more direct route now. So actually, both strategies seem to have been about the same.
Yes. As you can see, some pilots are climbing. Take a look at the German. Charlie, Christoph Lumpert, and 3 Victor, Thilo Hollyhouse. They are climbing so nice. Meanwhile, Sebastian Kawa with GS3 has gone a little bit more to the south. I don't know if he will climb or not. I think the right place is where the main group is, closer to the peak of the mountain. And I think they are climbing maybe, and you can see the northern pilots are joining the southern pilots. The south seems to be working a little bit better.
There's probably really good cumulus where Sebastian is, and we can see that Louis gone to him. Didier has gone to join him. And the others, although they climbed reasonably well, as we were saying before, in these conditions, the thermals don't last very long.
No.
You start to climb and you might get 6 or 7 turns in good thermal, and then the energy stops as the bubble that you're in goes past, and you cannot afford to wait for another one, so you have to move on and look for another one en route.
Yes. The pilots have climbed to an altitude similar to Pic de Lorre mountain, which is in the right part of your screen. It's about 2,500 meters. And this is the place to climb. We're talking just a few days before that the point, La Cometa de Lorri, is a nice mountain, very well oriented, but it doesn't work as well as this one. So the place to climb is here.
And it's a 2-kilometer radius on the turning point. So actually they don't have to go beyond the point. They don't have to go beyond the mountaintop. So they're never going to arrive in the lift zone.
Yes.
So they will go into the downwind side of the turning point, and they will have to turn immediately and come back again.
Yes.
And we can see the speed that Sebastian's flying at, 188. Thilo's flying at 170 kilometers an hour nearly. And so they're not going really fast, but they're going to try to take that turn and come back straight away.
Yes, we must say that first point, which 3 Victor Thilo Holyhouse and J3 Sebastian Kawa are arriving, Cometa is about 2,450 meters high, although there is a radius, they can just touch the point, not the same point, but to a line situated 2 kilometers from the center, which is a little bit lower, but they don't. They can be very much lower to arrive there. Huh?
It's quite fun now because it looks like the leader of the competition, Thilo, and Sebastian, who wants to be the leader, they're going together. And actually Didier is quite close to them. But we have quite a little gaggle here, a little group, all of whom will want to get the points today. And we should see an interesting battle here because it may be they push a little bit too hard. Because all of the guys behind have climbed quite a lot higher.
Yes, we can see the leading pilots. We said Thilo Holyhouse and Sebastian Kawa, but as we have said other days, it's relative position because the following group, the chasing group, is about 400 meters higher. It's a little some difference between one and another. And in the middle, you can see that that green mark is the landable field of Sword. It's about 600 meters. No problems, except some days you find some cows there and you have to buy them.
It's an excellent field in this area, and it's like a small airfield. And this is their security blanket. If everything fails, they don't climb, then that's where they can go.
Yes.
Looks like they're going to have to go round the mountain because looking at the altitude, I don't recall how high this turning point is, but I think it's quite high, and they aren't very high. So they're going to have to go round the mountain to get to the turning point.
Yes, Cometa is 2,450 meters high, and to a distance of 2 kilometers, the altitude is lower. It's 1,900 meters. I think they would have seen something, a cumulus or some vultures flying or a hawk, something like that.
They should be able to just go into the zone on the southern end where the mountain drops down, because that's the very top of the mountain, the height of the turn, and we can see Thilo's nearly there. Maybe in a moment Benj will show us the picture from directly overhead, and we can look down on it and watch them go into and come out of the turn.
Yes, meanwhile we could see when we were seeing the main group climbing in Lorry, we saw as Vladimir, who we must remember to stop climbs like not the rest of the group. He joined them, and he's with them with the same altitude as the higher one.
So Thilo's round now. Is he straight back to the lorry? I would. I think he would just go straight back to the lorry to climb up again on the lorry. Thilo's certainly not being too cautious about this. He's taking the fight to everybody. He said, I'm in front. If you want to beat me, you've got to catch me first. He's doing a really good job here. And it's always fantastic to watch a competitor who is not watching what everybody else does. He's making his own decisions. He's pushing and pushing. And if you want to beat him, you've got to catch him first.
Yes. The other option, Brian, is not going to the lorry, but doing what Thilo is. There is a little ridge to the southeast, about 4 or 5 kilometers of distance, and there is quite nature oriented. Thank you, Benjamin. You can see it, and maybe he tries to find something here, or maybe there are cumulus marking. Okay, as you can see, it's more rocky, not like the wet valley, and we will see what happens.
Yeah, there is a chance of quite good lift round here. There's a possibility to get high, but I still think it would be better to go to the lorry. We know that when you get to the lorry, and I'm sure Thilo will, you know when you get there, you're almost certain to get good ridge lift, even if you don't get a good thermal straight away. But he's looking. He's got a cloud. He's having a look. He's trying to work out is it worth staying here, or shall I push on?
Yes, and in the meanwhile, we must remember that there are other pilots. We are not talking about them because they followed the whole southern route. Part of the southern group broke in two. One went to join to the northern one. The other one, formed by Lukas Wodzik and Adam Zelaski from Poland and Piotr Krecki from Czech. They are coming from the south. Nice altitude. I'm very surprised. I thought they would have lost more altitude. They haven't. They are going quite well. I think they will join us with very nice altitude. And look at Piotr. He almost has 3,000 meters, so very well done. Good tactics there.
Yes, it takes a long time to climb up, but I can see that there's such a big group come together again now. There's going to be difficult to break this up because the route is becoming more obvious. It's more difficult to find a new way, and that means that this group will stay together. So it becomes a question of really efficient flying to try to get in, to try and get ahead.
Okay, we saw Thilo tried a couple of circles a little bit to the southeast part of the waypoint. I think it didn't work. He's keep on going. And interesting thing, we were talking before that there was a southern wind. There were possibilities, chances of south wave, but by the way, I think no one is using it, or they are not finding it.
Yeah, and Christoph Limper and Mike Young, they actually turned quite high. They've done really well. Sebastian stopped to climb a little bit here, but Thilo's pushing ahead, and Sebastian now will have quite a lot of company, because all of the second wave of competitors to arrive are arriving at more or less the same height. And they're getting up to a good altitude. Thilo needs to be a little bit careful here because they're going to be leaving at 2,800, 900, and he's going to be arriving at 2,100 or something on the lorry. But it could still be okay for him.
Yes. We can see that Christoph Limper is Charlie, who is flying ASD29 ES also, is going south, just about a couple of kilometers to his fellow man Thilo Holyhouse. Christoph is, by the way, number 14 in the Grand Prix ranking, and he used to fly in Romflum Gesfeld. Okay, he has about 4,500 hours, and very, very nice man. And we are always surprised how well he does with his motorbike towing for the scale, Brian.
Yeah. Thomas's big climb to 3,000 meters didn't give him any real benefit. He's just a little bit behind now. He's having to climb up here. He's 2,000 meters, but he will climb up. He'll catch up.
Yeah.
Now, what will be good to watch is Sebastian's tactic. Sebastian needs to win to get ahead of Thilo, or he needs Thilo to lose. Now, is he going to watch Thilo and wait behind and see if he makes a mistake, or is he going to try and push ahead in front of him?
Yes.
This we will see in the next 20 minutes or so.
Yes, we must remember that this moment from the last Grand Prix finals, he is the nowadays championship, and of course he wants to be again. There was a mistake first day. He had no points. He had the chance to have 5 points because he was with the group, the leading group that finally got the main points. But he took a choice, took a different direction, and finally it didn't work, 0 points. And we will see if he's able to recover that point. So the difference between he and the leader, which is, by the way, Thilo Holyhouse, is 8 points. We must remember that apart from this, we have 2 more days left. and there are 30 points in game. Huh?
And so Thilo's coming across now towards the lorry. We will see him coming on this ridge and see if he gets a good climb. Of course, he could choose just to run it, because there will be a ridge lift all the way to the turning point at Beaumont, but it means you have to fly quite low. The ridge lift won't go very high. He's about the right height for flying in the ridge. If he has no good thermal on the way, he can actually take the ridge all the way up to Beaumont. But I would have thought that if he hits a good thermal, he will have to take it up.
And in a few seconds, our friend Gerard will put us how does the sky looks like. And you can see to the north point, Pic de l'Orre is very close to La Cometa, first point. And to the left of the screen is the second point where they are going, as that's how the sky looks like. We must remember that for gliding, when you are high, you usually follow the clouds, but when you are low, you follow the ridge, you follow the terrain.
And the difficulty is that when you aren't finding good climbs, good averages, an easy way to climb back up again, because it's a race,
Yes.
you can't afford to wait. And so they push on and push on. But actually, Thilo's climbed all the way. Thilo's climbed nearly 200 meters now, and he's doing really well on this route. And I'm surprised. Oh, he's stopping to climb now, which is a good thing, because the turning point at Beaumont is quite high.
Yes, Beaumont is about 2,100 meters. And the thing is, there are about 7 or 8 other peaks with similar altitude, only few meters less. And Sebastian Kawa, we can see him, there is a little gaggle, a thermal with 2 pilots, the first pilots in the overall classification and the third one. We'll take then a look at what's happening with Didier House, the second one. And we can see in the upper part of your screen, at the top of your screen, you can see Charlie, the other German pilot, followed by a group of 3. They are going directly to the Beaumont point.
And these are the guys who climbed high at the Comet turning point.
Yes.
These are the guys who at Cometa stayed, and we saw them climbing through 2,700 meters, and now they don't have to worry about the ridges, they don't have to go off track, they can take a direct route into Beaumont. You can see the beautiful view now of the ridges running where Christophe Limper is going. You can run all the way up the valley, and that valley has a blind end, like the Americans would call it a bluff.
Yes.
You know, where the Indians would be in the cowboy days, huh? And where they would ambush you. And as long as Christophe doesn't get ambushed, he'll be fine, because you can fly up that valley, and when you come to the end, the air has nowhere to go but up. And if he's really lucky, he'll be there just at the right time, into the turn, climb up, and then he can go on the northern leg.
Yes, we can see now in the data at the bottom of your screen, the data of the leading pilot, which is Christophe Lampert. Christophe is about 2,000 meters high. In this zone, I think he would have to stop to climb. And is followed by a group of 3, Gilles Navas with his GSMD3, Pete Temple, who flies a 29, and Mike Young, who is flying a Ventus 3. And the thing is, we left just a few seconds before Thilo Holyhouse and Sebastian Kawa. They keep on climbing. They were at the same thermal also, and maybe they mark a thermal for the groups following them. No?
Yeah, and Louis got quite high. Louis has climbed quite high, but Sebastian and Thilo have done pretty well there. They've got themselves a good altitude, and they're going to be able to run straight into the turning point, right over the top. And I think the important thing here is that the top of this mountain range is the best place to find the convergence line.
Yes.
And if there is a line of energy that you can run, they're in the right place now. But the others are all high enough to come back up this route. They should be able to turn and come straight back up the top of the little mountain range that runs here. I don't know what you call this from Beaumont going north, if it has a name.
I don't remember it, I'm sorry, no. This place called Les Picas, but by the way, I don't remember it.
But they're going to take a northerly run now from the turning point back up through the turning point at just the Col, which is just to the
Col de Canto.
Col de Canto.
Yes, interesting to see. We're happy to see that we saw when all the gliders were arriving to Cometa Point. I was a little bit worried about John Gatfield, Yankee Oscar, who was only 2,000 meters high. He was the lower one. He recovered. He's recovering quite well. You can see he has gained 600 meters, and he has joined with one of the groups, and they are going together. Okay, perfect. You can see the mountains. There's not one that is higher than the other ones, but groups of mountains with valleys not well aligned, but a little bit mess.
And it looks like very tricky countryside, but in fact you have two big valleys. The Sort Valley with a good field in, then on to the east of this mountain, these little mountains, they have the Sao Valley and the possibility of Sao Airfield. So actually it's quite a comfortable place to fly along here.
Yes. And here's a little bit a tricky point, because this waypoint has a radius of I think 3 kilometers, and the reason is that to the south there is the line that cuts the area in space and goes into a zone that is much lower. So the pilots are doing well not going to that zone. They should stay in the northern point. And even though there was a nice cumulus, I think they would not go to that way.
They're going to try and come back to the lorry. I suspect there'll be some cumulus, which will help them. They will come back up through the Col Comet. Is it Les Pics, the turning point just to the south of the lorry?
Yes, Les Pics. Yes, it is.
They'll come through that and onto the lorry to climb up to go on to Maniga. They have a long way to go yet. They have to go north now to Maniga.
Yes.
Which is
34 kilometers.
And then
again to the east, only 8 kilometers, and again to the south, 23 kilometers. So this is the zone where there are 4 waypoints. They will fly all around this zone. I think they will look one to each other. They will see each other, but maybe in different legs. But they will have a lot of markers to find climbs. Okay. We can see Christoph Limpert is not going to the north. He's going to the east. I think he's low. He was only 1,700 meters. He's quite low there.
Christoph really didn't get into that turn high enough, but he's come back along the western ridges to use the wind, and he will find thermals along here. We can see he's on a very nice place now on the spur, and he's climbing on the way out of the turning point with the guys who are still on the way into the turning point. He'll be happy to climb from that altitude, because it starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable when you get down below 1,800 meters, because you're level with the top of the mountains, and your ability to maneuver becomes restricted.
Yes.
You have to follow the edge.
Yes, we can see he's circling very close to a group of Pietr Adam Zelaski. It should be he has a better core, a better thermal, but also it should be he's not high enough to go to the higher ground. Okay, and to take a look at how the sky looks like, we could see now some images from Bowmore Point to the next point, which is Maniga. So that's how it looked like. Take a look to the east, to the middle, nice clouds, and to the north, you can see there are more shadows, not as much blue sky, really closed. So very curious and important. You can see to the right part of your screen that the clouds almost touch the higher mountains. No? That's the ceiling.
Yeah, the base is not so high, but I think the important thing from those images is that it's not overdeveloping.
Yes.
We're not beginning to see any beginning of shower activity. We're not beginning to see overdevelopment. So we should be able to have a good race right to the end. We're a little bit worried here that the Cerdanya Valley has a microclimate, and on the north and south side there can be low cloud and rain when we're enjoying really nice conditions here.
Okay, here we see the altitudes. As you can see, they are lower than the race 3 2 days ago, and they are going to third point Maniga. Very interesting because it's very close to the highest mountain in that zone, which is Saloria. Saloria is for us is a point to follow always, and well, we'll go. We'll see.
Yeah, Tilo looks like he's coming on to the lorry. Well, Tilo's data's gone funny again,
Yes.
so we're not sure where he is.
Yes,
Yeah.
take a look. Meanwhile, Sebastian Kawa has gone alone. Is going straight ahead to fourth point, which is Maniga. Maniga is 2,400 meters, but it should be interesting because just 2 kilometers away, it's Saloria. There is a little ridge that works quite well, and I think they should use that. Okay.
Yeah, so we've passed the lorry. I think I'm just reorientating here. The mountain that Thilo's coming on now is a really good place. Yeah, it's a really good place to climb, and then he has a ridge which takes him right into the next turning point.
Yes.
But of course, they have to be high now.
Yes.
They have to cross back over the mountains to the east to the Andorra Valley. So they must be high enough to do this.
The thing is, they are about 2,300, 2,200 meters, and mountains where they are going is the same altitude, or little, or even a little more. So they must climb.
The turning point at Maniga is 2,400.
Yes.
So they are going to arrive 300 meters below the top unless they get a climb. So they have to climb really. And also when they arrive in Maniga, they must go to the east. And to go to the east, you have to cross over at least one col, which is more than 2,100 meters. So we will see now each one looking for the climb that's going to give him the altitude to run into the turning point. It looks like Sebastian's found one. And it looks like Thilo will running on to the first of these the first of the peaks on the range that runs up to Maniga. And
Yes.
Sebastian's climbing quite well now. He's climbing at 3 to 4 meters. This could be really good for him, put him in the lead in this race.
And we're talking about this point, Maniga is 2,400 meters, and we have Saloria mountain here. The interesting thing is, it should be nice to follow this line. Maybe big deviation, but the thing is, you will fly always in high altitude, and from here, very high, go to the south.
But if they're high enough, can go direct. If they're high enough at Maniga, they can go direct to Torredella and then come back to the south. This leg is very quick, and I think it's very quick because the southwest wind is quite significant, and they've got 20 to 30 kilometers an hour of wind behind them, so ground speeds are very high now.
Yes, we were now talking about what is the Dia House, one of the 3 leaders that we had lost. He was 2,000 meters, just high, just a few seconds before when we lost the data. And so Ryan, for the leaders, what, in your opinion, should be their strategy, especially where the 2 of the 3 leaders are going pretty close one to another, leading the main group? What could they do?
Well, I don't think Thilo has a strategy. I think he only knows one way of doing this, and that's to get out in front and stay there and just push, push, push. And of course, that means that Sebastian's strategy has to be that he has to match that. He has to either stick with Thilo or he has to push, push, push. There's not really any possibility of either of these 2 guys taking it easy. And it could just be that the group behind, we see people like Mike and Gilles and Louis, they might benefit from this, because it could just be possible that the mistake is made by the leaders in pushing hard, and we've already seen several times when the people who we thought fell behind have caught up with them.
Yes, interesting. Now you can see the whole Orri mountain, and in the middle, where the road you can see goes to Seu d'Urgell, to your right, is Coll de Cantó. That's the place to climb. I think, in my humble opinion, Three Victor is in a better place than Alfa Romeo and GS3, Ginta San Sebastian. There are 2 places to climb. One is, the better for me, is Three Victor, and the other one is keep on going through the ridge until you ride the 5 breaks. We talked some minutes before, but this is the place to climb. And from there, follow the ridge, jump the valley, and arrive to the zone of Maniga Saloria Ridge we talk about.
But Thilo didn't climb so well there. We would normally expect to climb a little bit better there, and Sebastian's continuing to climb, but he's not climbing that well. He's only climbing at a couple of meters, but Thilo's got enough altitude to run on, but he's running into this turning point quite low. I would say that he's either can see something really good or he's taking a little bit of a chance here. There's no security issue because he has the valley, but sooner or later he will need a little bit more altitude to get through this turning point and onto the next one.
Hello, everybody. Sergi again. Tilo is going for the northwest of the Pic de Lorry. That the problem with this peak, sometimes it's not easy to find the thermal because I think it's a roundabout, and it's difficult. The place where GS3 and Alfa Romeo it's climbing, or just leave the thermal now, normally it's a good place. It's the Port del Cantó, and it's a good place for find some thermals. Tilo start to be a little low because the mountain is going down now, just the point Maniga. But after in this area in the north where we have put the old, when he starts to arrive now, all this ridge, the normal works good, and close to the Saloria or these mountains in the north, he will find a really good thermals.
We have to just talk for a moment about Tilo's experience here. And he flew the Grand Prix, the National Grand Prix, 2 or 3 years ago. And he won that Grand Prix in this area, and he flew very well.
Yeah.
But I was talking to him a few evenings ago about his first time he came to La Cerdanya in 1988. Oh. And he came with the sports soldiers when he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're 18 years old with the sports soldiers, I think they flew a lot, very fast, low on the ridges, and had some fun. And I think he's probably taken a lot of years off his life, and he thinks he's 18 years old again. And he wants to fly low on the ridges all the time.
Yeah. When I started to working here, all people that works here, like Agustí or something like that, he's blaming that, long time ago, pilots from Germany comes and little crossy, and he goes really fast always, and low, and it was Tilo and his friends.
But I do think he might have taken this one a little bit more carefully running in, because he really needs to climb, and if he doesn't find a good climb, it's going to be tricky. And Sebastian has an advantage now. He has 500 meters more. He's running into the turn, and he's only 3 kilometers behind, and that's a big difference. He's effectively got 7 or 8 kilometers of altitude more than Tilo.
Yeah.
But Tilo's trying. Tilo's looking for something here. He thinks it's good. If it's really strong, then he can close that gap down to almost nothing.
Yeah, he starts to climb really well, Tilo now. Here in this mountain, it starts to be again route climbs, and he's now with 3 meters, something like this. It's still climbing at 2,400, but Alfa Romeo and Sebastian, it's at 2.8. He has a small advantage from Tilo. Alfa Romeo is in better position now.
And we could see the sky at Maniga there, and the sky is looking good. It's, again, Sergi, I think that sky looks a little confused. It doesn't look absolutely straightforward. Yes,
it's a little confused, and sometimes, because they have fluid, you go to the black part of the clouds and you don't find nothing, or even -4, -3. Sometimes in La Cerdanya Valley, when we have west wind, we find a really big sinks, because we have mountains in front and we have a really big sinks. But if you're looking you can find a really strong thermals today.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of luck involved in this, arriving at a good cloud, and you don't get a thermal, and you move on, and the next guy arrives 1 minute later and gets a really good thermal.
Yeah, this is true. And sometimes it's a little
and of course
frustrating.
The speed you achieve over the race depends so much upon how fast you can gain altitude. The speed is almost directly related to the rate at which you climb, so you need to find the stronger lift to make the higher speeds.
Yeah, but if the pilots are low, he have to take 1 meter or something like this, because if not, later it's the opportunity or the chance to find thermals, it's reducing a lot.
Yeah, altitude is an option, and I think we can see Sebastian flying very fast now, because he's probably near the cloud base.
Yeah.
He's probably not far below the cloud base, so he's pushing and pushing to stay below the cloud. Gintas is doing really well. Gintas has done a wonderful flight here. He's caught up, he was behind, and he's doing extremely well to stay with Sebastian, and he's probably trying to make up for the last flying day when he was very disappointed with his result.
Yes, sure. He has flew here during 2 weeks, and he's a really good pilot, and I think he deserves to make a good flight today. And now this part of the task should be really good because the mountain is higher, the wind is good for this part of the mountains, and the normal we will fly in good conditions here.
And Gintas is flying an ASG 29. It's his own glider and he's very happy with it. He's flying it very well. And it makes such a difference being in a sailplane that you really know well and you really feel comfortable with.
Yes, and we saw just a few minutes before touching the point, how Gintas was below and 2 kilometers back from Sebastian, and he catched him. I think he got a very nice line of energy, and now he's with him. Very nice from him. And we saw also like Tilo Holyhouse, he struggled a lot to center the thermal, but finally I think he got a very nice thermal and recovered some of the distance he lost with Sebastian and Gintas. So now Gintas and Sebastian are the leading ones, closely followed by Tilo Holyhouse. Tilo, I think, is only about 100 meters with less altitude.
And Gintas is going a little bit deeper into this turning point. He's going to take the edge. Sebastian looks like he wants to cut it really fine. Certainly Gintas is going to turn first, and the question is, will he turn sharp right and come back immediately, or will he run through it and head a little bit more to the east before he comes south again?
Yes, and now we come back to the whole vision of how the race is. There are 3 pilots that have already passed through the third point, and Gintas, Sebastian and Kawa, and another group of 5-6 going to the also third point with Maximilian, Saiz and Luis Budorle Cartagena. They already had 3,000 meters, and a group that has taken the western route that took Christoph Limpert and Tilo Holyhouse. You can see them. They are between 3,600 to 2,800 meters.
There's quite a big difference now. There's quite a lot of difference in the distance, because this group with Mike and Gilles and Adam, they're a long way behind now. There's really no chance to catch up with that. And Louis and we see Louis and Max, they're going okay, but they're still a long way behind the front 3 pilots.
Yes, I'm a little bit surprised that when they touched the point, they were about 2,800 meters. They are flying over nice places for thermals, but they lost 400 meters. Do you see, Brian? It's very curious.
It is, and I think it's because the ridges are strongly influenced by the thermals, and it's unreliable. It's unpredictable, and so you head into fast where you think is going to be the right place. Doesn't work, but now you don't have the altitude to take another option, and you have to make it work. You can't just keep running on. As we saw Tilo there, Tilo had to stop and climb. He had no choice but to climb, and he didn't get a good climb.
Yes, and just some minutes before we left Christoph Limbert, we were a little bit worried with him about 1,700 meters. He climbed to 3,300 meters, and he's been joined by a group with Pietre and some French people. Thank you, Benjamin. We can see him. Christoph now 3,000 meters with Pietre with him. A group of 7. I think Lucas and John will join them just arriving to the point. Yes, they were to the south, and they are going with them.
It's okay. Yeah, I was disorientated then. We're looking south now at them coming into the turning point. So we're at the 3rd turning point now, looking south. It's very easy to lose track of how many turning points when you have so many. And Christoph's doing okay. He's very high. He'll be happy with that. That's the sort of altitude that makes it comfortable at this turning point.
Yes.
500 meters more than Sebastian and Tilo turned.
So we talked about it at the beginning. Today, finding a nice thermal, a good thermal, is very interesting. You must not be low, otherwise you will be in problems. And if you find a 3 instead of 2 or something like that, it's a huge difference, because, for example, Christoph got a very nice thermal, who took him from 1,700 to 3,000 meters. So I think it will have been a medium of 2.5, and now we can see the leading group separated into 2.
And Gintas has gone his own way.
Yes,
Gintas has gone much more on track, and Sebastian decided. I think Sebastian's headed back for the place he got that last really good climb, and he's looking for the place where he climbed. Tilo's sort of with him. You can probably see him okay. and he's thinking, yeah, okay, that's not bad. I'll stick with you for a minute, Sebastian. They're similar altitude. Thilo's not quite caught him up, but he's done quite well to close that gap.
Yes, and maybe the following group with Pete, Louis, Maximilian, and Eugenie could catch him. There's a bit difference of altitude between four, but they arrived to point of Torredella higher than the three that passed it before, and I think they could catch him. We will see. And we can see also that Christoph Limpert is going to arrive to the point. Interesting.
Difficult to see on that picture quite where you're going to go, but I think that's the flat lorry we can see in front of Sebastian. Is that the flat top of the lorry we're looking at?
Yes.
And they will not be able to use the lorry going south. They'll have to run on, and of course from the turning point it's a final glide really. Once they take this last turning point, they should be able to make a final glide because they can run the ridges.
Yes, and from there they have only left 92 kilometers, 62 to Puigcerdà, which is the control point, last point, and then 7 to La Cerdanya.
Actually, they're going pretty fast, aren't they? 130 kilometers an hour.
Yes,
It's a little bit faster than I expected. We planned on them flying about 120, 125, so they're doing a bit better. And what's more, those speeds will go up when we get the final glide.
Yes, it's curious because they haven't flown very high. They haven't been in the zone of between 3,000 and 3,005 we saw a couple of days before, but lower. I think Brian, they really have stopped to climb only a few thermals.
Yeah, they've not climbed very often, so they've run really well along the lines of energy. But we can see there's quite a big difference. All of these pilots are very good pilots, but they've split into 3 groups, and the leading group are pushing quite hard. And it's going to be a really interesting finish, especially if Thilo and Sebastian stay together like this.
Yes, we will see. They will cross Lima Echo, which is local pilot Aldo Rodriguez with LAC 17A, who usually flies Serge Pujol. He knows how to fly very nice, and it's the 3rd Grand Prix that Aldo flies here. He used to fly with his ASW20, but he thought, okay, I'm in the final, I need something more powerful.
Almost everybody now is between 2,400 and 2,600 meters. Sergi, do you want to reply to that?
No, I just wanted to say that Sergio always flies that glider crazy, very well, okay? And
Sergi's quite experienced at Grand Prix flying. You flew the French Grand Prix, Sergi, and the Varese Grand Prix?
Yes, I have flew the Varese and in Rennes-sur-Sulpice last year with Philippe de Péchy, and it's quite good.
Yes, and if you ever find him, please invite him over here and let him explain you his adventures about landing out in some French fields. Always interesting.
With Thilo and Sebastian coming together.
And
almost the same altitude. This is remarkable because Thilo fell behind and now he's come back again. And when you have this situation, there's always a psychological effect because Sebastian will know that the last turning point he'd got ahead. He knew he would have seen on his flam, he would have seen Thilo, and he would know that he was a little ahead. And now he's back together, although there's a difference in the altitude showing.
And as you said, Thilo made his own way, and for me it's very remarkable. This thing, he's not marking, he's not going after one of the competitors, which is Sebastian. No, he's making his own way. He chose another route. Okay, perfect. So it's very, very well done for Thilo. Huh?
And Gintas is going to be like a Californian surfer here. He's just going to hang on. If he can surf this wave with Sebastian Thilo, he's going to get a really fun flight, because we're going to see some action now with Sebastian Thilo not wanting to give way. They're going to really struggle to be the first across the line.
Yes. For me, Gintas has done very well because he's flying a glider with a little less performance than the other ones. And for me, it's one of the hidden tigers, Brian, maybe.
Yeah.
We didn't expect.
He's certainly capable of putting up a wonderful performance. And if he's in the mood and he gets a little bit of luck, he can do it. certainly Sebastian's got an advantage here. He's definitely got 100 meters on average more than Thilo. That's quite a lot. 100 meters actually is a lot more than you'd think, because it's when you get on the ridges, he can fly that little bit faster and that little bit higher.
So do you think, Brian, this group of three will keep on going together, or maybe Sebastian will try to go away from them to catch points from Thilo?
Oh, I think my impression is that they will be flying together for most of the flight now, but it will be pushing harder and harder and harder as they get towards the finish. This is where you have to be careful not to drive yourself into trouble because you want to get rid of the other guy.
Okay, in the meanwhile, we'll see in a few seconds how the weather looks like to Las Picas, point number 5. And I want to say, Brian, thank you very much to our team in Telescopio with Jorge Arias, Joan Fresno, Felix Fresnedo. It's a cold day today in the mountains. They have their coats on, so thank you very much for your work. It's really, really appreciable. Thank you very much, boys.
They're doing a great job. So maybe, Ben, we look overhead the last leg and try to look at the route they're going to take home. And we can draw it on.
Yes.
So we'll show you a plan view in a moment of the route home. And we're in for a pretty fast final glide, I think, because they're going to, from this altitude, they should be able to make almost directly to La Rabassa and then run the south side of the north side of the valley all the way home.
Brian, do you want to bet? Well, yes, it should be the most logical route, but I think I am always thinking that if someone wants to try something different, I'm always thinking of Cadi Mountain, especially not in the morning, but especially in the afternoon, should work quite nice.
Yeah, well, they're probably a little bit marginal to do a straight run. They might have to go more to the north before they start off back along the Cerdanya Valley. Oh, it looks like they're going straight.
Yes, I think they would make this way. Okay. Here is the Andorra Valley, and here is La Rabassa Mountains. The other option, I don't think if everybody is going to do, is this one, straight, this way. And the third one, we don't see if they will do, is Cadi Mountain, but we think they won't do it.
Maybe they go direct to La Rabassa. Maybe they go direct to La Rabassa, and they arrive there low. We saw Thilo last time we had a race, and he flew very low all the way back. Maybe he thinks he can just do the same, but there isn't so much south wind today. There's not as much south wind, but they don't have to go all the way to Font-Romeu. They only have to come back to here. So as it stands, it's a neck-and-neck fight for Thilo and Sebastian for the first place, with Gintas there pushing them both along.
Yes, and we were thinking about what was doing one of the three that was at the lead of the classification, Didier. Didier is a little bit at the rear of the race, so if he doesn't recover, maybe he will lose some points and lose the second position. But with this, the thing is, Sebastian Kawa and Thilo Haus are pretty close, so even though Sebastian wins, he would only recover 2 points of the difference of 8. I think Thilo is doing quite good his flight, and without wanting to do, he's also doing quite good in the strategy of the whole competition, Brian.
It is, but you need a lot of discipline now, because there is similar altitude, but Sebastian's definitely got an edge here. I think on average he's got 100 meters more. That counts for a lot in this situation. It counts for a lot, because if it starts to get marginal, Thilo has to slow down, and I don't think Thilo will want to slow down. So there is a risk that Thilo gets pushed too hard in not wanting to slow down here. And Sebastian's in a very good position. He can just push Thilo a little bit.
Yes.
And Thilo has to resist this. He has to be careful, to be confident in what his plan is, and not allow himself to be pushed into pushing too hard.
Yes. Even though just being right like now, maybe 300-400 meters behind him, and use him as a marker to find if he has the better energy line. He finds another, and maybe make Sebastian to make a mistake. even though. Huh?
Yeah, they need 800 meters of altitude to come home. And they'll pick up at least half of that with energy if they're flying fast. But if they fly slowly, they could pick nearly all of that. But they won't want to fly slowly. If they hit a good climb, I'm sure they'll take it. I'm sure there's a few turns in the thermal somewhere here.
And we think maybe Thilo listened to us because he just joined Sebastian. He's 40 meters behind, but he recovered his 500 meters. And Thilo knows he's in the place he must be, and he knows that Sebastian has the pressure. Okay, and as you said, Thilo must resist to do anything strange. Now he must think not winning, not thinking in the race, but thinking in the whole championship. Brian,
I think so, and he's a wise guy, Thilo. He's been around a while. He'll know. If you imagine sitting in Thilo's cockpit, he can see Sebastian's higher. And he'll know that that's going to count for a lot towards the end. So he's got to think about a way to bring that back. And the way to bring it back is to use Sebastian rather than try to get away from him.
Yes, Thilo wouldn't have to be lower than Sebastian. He would have to stop. And well, we will see how the data of distance left is changing 300 meters one way, 300 the other. But they are pretty close. That difference of 40 meters is not significant. The thing is, if they keep on being at the lead, it will be very interesting, the final glide, and one another thing, that is a real comparison between two of the better gliders in the world.
Yeah, but if we look out, we'll see Gintas has gone more to the north and climbed quite high. And he's now up at a much higher altitude. He's actually slightly better off with energy, but he has got quite a lot more distance to fly.
Yes.
And where he's flying, he won't pick it back.
And Gintas is leaving so fast. He knows maybe, can you set the barrier? He's just cruising at almost 200 kilometers per hour, still climbing. So I think he found a very nice line of energy, and we must see if he will be able to catch the leading group. And
it's certain that in this situation, there's always a risk that you get two of the top pilots in front pushing, and they make a mistake and they get stuck, or even worse, they don't finish. And behind them, there's a group which was sitting on top, and that group could easily pass over. We've seen it before in competitions where you can drive yourself a little bit too hard in this situation because you're focused only on the person you're flying with. But we have two of the world's top pilots here. We have the world's top pilot here, and Thilo, who is also a fantastic pilot. I don't think they're likely to make a big mistake, but it'll be interesting to see how they respond to this pressure. Same height again now, so what the little edge Sebastian has, he seems to have lost it. They're certainly pulled away. And we've got Fox Quebec, which is Louis, and Louis is going to be catching up with them. He's going to be pushing for a second place. Maybe he's aware of Gintas, maybe not. But Gintas looks well placed now. He's got the altitude, and he looks well placed to run onto the ridges. They don't have to be very high when they get onto the Larabassa ridge now. They can run quite low down the valley because they only have to go to Pucheda and then come back the 6 kilometers to the airfield, 7 kilometers to the airfield.
Okay, and let's situate the theoretical arriving point. This is Larabassa Mountains, Sergi, if I'm not wrong. This is where you should go. The thing is, they were cruising at about 1,900 meters. Meanwhile, these mountains are about 2,400 meters, I think. But usually, it's like some steps, and you find thermals all around. The thing is, the thermals in the lower part are, of course, not as strong as the upper ones. Okay. And the normal from here will be going around the ridge, over the ridge, touch the point. That's the thing, okay? Usually from Larabassa, maybe they have 2,500, 2,600 meters with clouds over the northern mountains. It would be enough to arrive to the finish line.
So if I would feel comfortable where they are at 2,400 meters. They're certainly quite low. Yeah. They certainly need energy. You have to remember, they're only 800 meters above the airfield. And they still have how long? They still have 42 kilometers to go, and so they have to find energy. They have to fight through energy to make it home.
And that's the view of the clouds over La Rabassa. That's where the leading pilots are going. You can see a clearly marked cloud, very nice, grid arc. That's where they will climb. Okay, Tilo has lost about 100 meters of altitude. I don't know if it will be definitive, but he must recover that. Okay,
100 meters is quite a lot. It's quite a lot of altitude to be down, but he's always been on the light side. He's always been 100 meters lighter than below Sebastian, and I suspect that's what will happen all the way to the finish.
Yes, because I think they have only about 50 kilometers left, the finish line, something like that. And well, I think Jintasube and Luiderlook will join them. They are, especially Jintasube, lost 200 meters, and Luiderlook something more, we will see. The pilots coming from the bottom part of your screen with Buderlik, Maximilian, are a little bit higher, but we will see if it's enough or not. Okay, I think they will all join together in La Rabassa zone, and we'll see. So it's curious that without wanting to Tilo made the good strategy of being with the main competitor. And here they are. They left La Rabassa. Now they are the same altitude, same distance. They are flying pretty close. And if they keep on flying together, we can assure you that both will pass the finish line with 1,300 meters 0-0 without leaving a meter left.
But what is difficult for anybody to imagine, if they've not been in this situation, is that Tilo is generally a little bit lower than Sebastian. And that gives him a big disadvantage because he has to fly a little bit further around each of these cols and each of these ridges. And that means he actually has a little bit more distance to fly. And he also can't get in the slightly steeper slope and tuck into the energy as well. And you'll see that Sebastian will be able to gain energy on Tilo over this part of the ridge. This part of the ridge is really good.
Yes.
And they're running up to where there's a small monument now on the ridge. This is the only place they're going to pick up any real energy. And when they leave here, they're going to need the final glide altitude. They're going to need to have almost zero on the energy required. And watch how Sebastian's just managing to creep up a little bit because he's that fraction higher.
And the thing is, Brian, I think Tilo, even though he finds the terminal, he can't stop.
No,
he can't stop. He must keep on going and try to catch Sebastian.
Yeah. And I don't understand why we see such a big difference in our final glide calculator between Tilo and Sebastian, because it should be more or less the same.
Yes,
they're more or less the same distance to run, and they're the same altitude, so we should be seeing the same. When you can see Sebastian's winding down to zero.
Yes, yes.
Zero for Sebastian means zero. Yeah. It means he's coming home. Yeah.
And the distance, the altitude difference between them is a little more bigger. It's 1,150 meters, about 200. And from here, they jump the plains of Yes to ride to La Carbassa Mountains. That's where 2 days ago Didier House got stuck when he was leader. He joined Christophe and Aldo. It usually works, especially in the afternoon. And from here, they already go straight ahead to Puigcerdà. Okay, but that's the only place they could find some more energy. The thing is, I won't think they won't do that deviation.
No, they're straight flight now. And Tilo's really lost that 100 meters. It's impossible for him to pass Sebastian now. Sebastian now is a very clever guy.
Yeah.
And he will not push it now. He will actually fly a little bit slower than he needs to, because he knows that sometime Tilo's going to have to pass him, and if he's got the altitude, he can stop that.
Yes, he's retaining energy.
Yeah, he will now just say, come on Tilo, the game's up to you. I'm just going to final glide at my speed. I'll fly a little bit conservatively. If you want to have a go to pass me, then you can try, but I just push it forward.
Yes, that's a psychological game, because maybe he makes Tilo think, okay, I can win. Yeah. So he makes him pass, and then maybe he reaches the finish line lower and penalty, and he tries to gain more points than here. he wants Tilo not to be the second, but to be the third or fourth.
Well, of course, we could be completely wrong, and he
Yes.
could push it really, really hard in the hope that Thilo gets a penalty or he doesn't finish.
Yes.
But I don't think that's. I think Sebastian will simplify a good final glide now. Thilo just has to stay with him and make sure he doesn't get a penalty. Yeah, shall we? And we're hoping that our telescope will pick up some images of them flying along the slope that's running on the north side of the valley. Yeah, can you see them now there, Yoshome?
Yes, you can see both gliders passing the mountains. That white lines are Sebastian and Tilo. They are passing. They have passed already Meranges Valley, going to Niula village. This is straight north to the airfield. Okay. We can see them here, and they're going to arrive to La Tour de Carol Valley.
Yeah, and they're coming on now past Maranges onto that slope, and we are. I can't see any outcome now other than Sebastian finishing before Thilo. The only thing that's really important is that that Thilo finishes. He'll only lose 2 points on Sebastian. Actually, I should think he'll be quite happy with that result. Looking back at the flight, Thilo will say, okay, there's lots of places it could have gone wrong and it didn't. I could have won, but the fact is I'm still in the game. I'm still in the game. I'm still winning, and Sebastian's still got the pressure to catch him.
Yeah, Thilo is telling Sebastian, okay, you will win me 2 points, but it will be not enough that you win me 2 points every day. Anyway, I will win the championship. So Sebastian has to do more things to win. And now we must say also, of course, we are following the leaders, both leaders, that the next pilot is Gintas that is about 2 kilometers after them, closely followed by Louis-Buderlik. Gintas has an advantage in distance and also in about 60 meters, 70 meters. Okay, that's the group. And from there, it's a huge distance of the rest with Zulu Fox, Yankee Oscar, and Golf Tango Thomas Gosner. Okay.
Yeah, Thomas has flown well today because Thomas was having a hard time this morning, and but he seems to have got it back together. And Mike's with him, and Eugeni's with them as well. So Eugeni's having a good time, but I think they're going to be out of the points. It looks like all the points will come back to John. John's in the points again, he'll be happy.
Yes, and we're also happy with Christoph Limper, who was very low and was the last one, and he recovered. We should take a look at how strong was that thermal. And in the meanwhile, we can see we come back to the leading group. Okay. I don't know who will win. Sebastian should win, but it's not certain for me. I don't know.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt now. There's no question of Thilo being able to catch him. He's lower.
Yes, you're right.
And he's fallen behind. And Thilo should, Thilo is thinking clearly, he should slow down. He should slow down now and take it easy on the basis that he's going to be coming back very gently now. Let's use it. And because, so what? There's a few minutes in it, it's only the points. Only the points matter. Thilo, there's only one thing matters now, that's to be second place.
Yes,
and to make sure he gets home comfortably.
Thank you, Benjamin. We can see clearly the advantage. They have the same altitude, and there's a difference of almost 1 kilometer. The thing is, Thilo must think clearly, must think with the reason, not with the heart, that he does, so he doesn't make any stupid thing. Okay.
They're only 500 meters above the airfield now, and they have to go to the turning point in Pucerda, and then how far home from there, Germain?
They are only 7 kilometers, which are really 6 with the radius, something like that.
Yeah, so the radius of 0.5 means that they go half a kilometer from the turn, so it's just 6 kilometers to come home. What's the story?
Okay, the distance is increasing. 1 kilometer left. And in the meanwhile, we will see now one of the two gliders in final glide. I think it's Tilo. I think it's Tilo. They're following.
Just coming down the valley now.
Yes,
they are.
yes.
So we should go back and just watch them finishing now on our silent wings. We get a beautiful view. And Brendan will put the distance on for us. We can see that Sebastian's got it in the bag pretty much.
Yes. I think even though Sebastian went clearly into the point, not to make a mistake, he knows that our mistake here could cost him the championship, the options he has to regain the winning, the leading. Okay.
And 230 kilometer race, 1.5 hours, and there's only 600 meters at the end. That's
Yes.
remarkable.
Yes.
It's like Olympics when there's only 0.5 of a second or something.
Yes, yes. And I think they knew they were leading, they were fighting one against each other, because sometimes you have some altitude left, and that's why we see the final glide at 250 kilometers around the speed. And now that's not so today, Brian. There was a race between only them.
Yeah, and what's really exciting for us is both these pilots are flying well, and we have 2 more days.
Yes.
So we have 2 more days of competition, and in those 2 days, we should see some really exciting flying. So we can see somebody taking the turn point now. No, let's not use that. Let's go back. Okay, that was the turn. And they're coming into the finish now. What's Sebastian doing? He was going a little bit to the side, but I don't think it's going to make any difference. They only have 3 kilometers to go. But look, they're really close to the minimum altitude. Very close to the minimum altitude. Are they going to have to slow down? Tilo slowed down to 140.
Yes.
Oh, it's getting close. They've still got 3 kilometers to go, and they're down to 1,300 meters. What a change! Well, Sebastian is slowing down. He's got the advantage there. Tilo's down to 140 now.
It's curious the deviation that Sebastian made to the right. We saw how the barrier was positive, and maybe he regained 50 meters, but he must be pretty sure to make something like that, just 5 kilometers from the finish line.
Well, it's going to be really marginal because they only have 20 meters and they still have half a kilometer to run.
And that's GPS.
Yeah. But
Yes.
of course, the pressure altitude might be slightly different.
Yes, we must say that. No?
We know that Sebastian doesn't very often make a mistake like this, about this, and I don't think he'll make one today. And we can see Tilo, they're just coming up now. He's probably got a little bit more pressure altitude, but he's slowed right down.
Yes, he will arrive at the limit. I think we'll arrive at the limit. Take a look at the ground speed. That's not the usual speed for
he's
a glider.
coming back down to stalling speed now.
Yes.
And he's making sure that he doesn't get a penalty. He's down to 100 kilometers an hour. He's got to get through that line at more than 1,300 meters. The time doesn't matter at all. And he'll just creep through the line, and then he'll come round for his second land. Well, he's done that. He's through the line. He stayed above 1,300 meters. Now speed back up again, and he comes round for his landing.
Yes, the thing is still Holyhouse could make that, because I think he knows the third one was so far away from here. The third is Gintas is 7 kilometers from him. Okay, I mean Sebastian first, Tilo second, and now we will see directly a group of 3 pilots in final glide. Here they go. I think there are Maximilian, Christoph, and Pete Temple. Very nice to see them. Take a look. 224 kilometers and only about 10 meters, Brian, one to another.
So if we go back to look at the silent wings, the distance, and we see the ones in between the control points and the airfield, and just check the distance on those bench. Yeah, Gintas has managed to stay ahead of Louis. Gintas has managed to stay ahead of Louis, and it looks like he's going to take third place. Louis is not likely to catch him now. They're really quite low. They've got 4.5 kilometers to go. Ooh, this is also getting marginal.
Yes. The distance is going low very fast. He could catch him. I don't know.
No, I don't think he can catch him, but I think they've both got an issue about being high enough. They've got 3 kilometers to go. Of course, the pressure altitude might be that another 100 meters. So what we're seeing here is GPS altitude.
Yes, we will see.
Yes, indeed.
And
We will see the ground speed keeps on, or maybe they have to make like Tilo Holy House. They are at the limit of the finish altitude and so penalty altitude. We must see if the ground speed they begin to go lower and slower and slower.
yeah, I'm sure that there is always a difference between the altitude as measured by the GPS, which doesn't take into account pressure variations. But of course, we have a low pressure area, so they are probably higher than the indication here. And if we see the same difference with everybody, there might be 50 or 60 meters. And Gintas looks like he'll cross through just about on the limit,
Yes.
probably give him 50 meters over, something like this. It certainly must be close, because Tilo wouldn't
Yes,
have
yes,
slowed
yes.
down so much
Yes,
otherwise.
yes, yes, I think so. We have to take an eye and stay tuned for just in case there is some penalty, because you saw they are arriving in groups of two. First, Tilo and Sebastian. Second, Gintas with Louis. And just the difference of a few meters could make an interesting penalty and change their nowadays position. Huh?
Yeah, but it doesn't look like that. Looks like they're both okay. And the next, here's a group of three. We have Maximilian leading, and we have Peter Temple and Christoph. Peter Temple's been flying brilliantly.
Yes.
He's been doing really well. And look, he's closing up on Max now. I think he's going to have a go at him. I think he's going to try to pass. He's got same altitude. Yeah, Peter's a very quiet guy,
Yes.
and he doesn't say too much, but obviously once he gets in the cockpit, there's a tiger in here.
Yes, he's another hidden tiger.
Yeah.
And he made the third last day.
Yeah.
And he's there. He's not going to fly in mountain, but he's I think demonstrating the other side. He's flying quite well.
2 kilometers to go, and he's past Max. Did Max see him? Could Max do anything about it? No. Look at his altitude. Max is just pushed a little bit too hard earlier
Yes.
on. Now he can't speed up. Peter saved a little bit of altitude, and he's still above the minimum. So he was able to pass Max on that last part, and Christoph's closing up fast. Max could lose 2 points here. It could be. Is Christoph do it? He's not got far to go to the line, half a kilometre. We see Gintas there in the circuit underneath them, turning for his finals.
I think Christoph won't be able to.
No, it looks like he won't quite
catch.
get there, but he's trying hard. He's coming down 90 meters. It's
Whoa,
really
whoa.
going to be close. It's going to be really close. with
Look
these
at the
guys
speed.
beside. Max is slowing right down to avoid the penalty, but maybe a little bit too much.
Whoa, whoa.
Christoph is coming through. Christoph is coming through. It's going to be very close. It looks like Christoph's got him. It looks like he's going to pass him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very nice to see.
Well, Christoph will be happy. Max is quite a guy. He's the youngest competitor, and I think he'll be thinking about that hard this
Yes.
evening.
But he's young. He will learn for sure of these lessons.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we have Mike. We have Louis. Louis coming in next, and then Jean Gatfield and Mike. I'm losing track of how many finish now, and whether we're still in the points. But Mike doesn't stand much chance to pass John here.
No, I don't think so.
There's 800 meters and only 2 kilometers to go. And how many have we got through the finish line now?
I think we have 7. Okay. And no, Mike won't catch John Gatfield. And well, I don't know if Adam already passed the finish line. We didn't see him.
So John could be the last in the points.
Yes.
John or Mike might, I think it's the first 9, so Mike might just be in the points here.
Yeah.
Which after his day yesterday, will make him very happy. Adam's done well. Adam's come back up very well. He's improved quite a lot today. He's come from a long way behind, so that'll make him happy. And Peter Krajcek's having a good finish. And Thomas is coming home, but these guys won't be in the points now.
Not even sort of not even reach a
No, I think Adam didn't touch the point. And arriving in the second main group with Piet and arrived Buderlik and Thomas Gosner. These are the pilots in the points. So we have all the 10 pilots that we had the points, and from here, we just want to say goodbye. Thank you everybody for joining us. Please share this fantastic race with your friends, and thank you Angel Casado, Brian of course, Gerard, Benjamin, and our team in the telescope in the cold zone of Andorra Valley. Thank you everybody, and goodbye.